fantasy player, daily fantasy player. I don't know about your season-long skills yet. Daily fantasy player, Alex Osmo Baker. Alex, what's going on?
Not much, man. A lot less daily players out here, so it's easier to be number one compared to season long. But it is an aspiration of mine someday.
Where are you at in our Osmo leagues? Hosted by Yahoo as well right now.
That's a good question. I think I might be 6-3, and I have some tight ends available if you need one.
Oh man, I would be right there with you, but I think I also have a lot of tight ends. So maybe we can talk trade. We'll see.
There we go.
Maybe I'll make another trade and you can not respond to it. I feel like we got to dive into the slate here. We got Yahoo as our sponsor. We should mention them first because Yahoo is a great place to play. If you haven't been over there yet, you can use promo code AWESOMO for $30 in YSRP points. You can read Emacs article that comes out every Saturday afternoon, the Yahoo Dollar Baller. It breaks down the slate, gives out his favorite plays, and we'll have that promo code link in there as well. If you want to make it easier, you can just search for Emacs Dollar Baller article. If you want the straight link. Looks like we got the usual on Yahoo this week at $250K baller, $25K to first, $10 entry, $75K guaranteed, $25. So you got a lot of different options to choose from here, as well as the Yahoo Cup round 10 5K free roll if you haven't gotten into that. So lots of stuff going on over there. We haven't banked yet, but it's coming, right?
That's right. Yeah, I mean we've cashed a few times. Of course, you win more money splitting first place than maybe let's see, like 1,500th or something. So let's shoot high this week. Maybe we can get there.
I'm feeling good about it. We got some value plays. We've been talking about it. It's going to happen one of these weeks. So why don't we get right into it? If you're new to the show or you haven't watched this before, basically we start out by breaking down the 5 highest totaled slates of the week. Arizona, Tampa Bay is going to be our first one. Then in the second half of the show, we will build 2 cash lineups on Yahoo, and we will build 1 GPP lineup, which we will enter into the $1 million or $250K baller, I should say, contest on Yahoo. All right, Tampa Bay, Arizona, the highest total on the slate. Also coming with that high total is a bunch of ownership on these players. Chris Godwin, Jameis Winston, Ronald Jones. A lot of guys are starting to see their fair share. What's your general take on this one in a high-paced, high-totaled matchup between 2 pretty explosive offenses and 2 pretty bad defenses?
Yeah, I mean, you got to love it. 52 over-under for some relatively bad teams in the NFL. I mean, that should be huge for fantasy. Like, this is a spot where you might see some career performances from some of these guys, especially on the Arizona side. It is an interesting situation because David Johnson's coming back, so we'll have to wait and see how that shakes out between him and Kenyon Drake, who they recently traded for. So what do you make of that situation?
So for me, it's going to be – I'm kind of taking a wait-and-see approach. Let's see. It looks like David Johnson will be back. Chase Edmonds probably out. And then, of course, we have Kenyon Drake in the mix as well. For me, this is kind of like a stay-away scenario just because you possibly have the split workload. They're both complementary. They're not complementary backs in that they're both kind of known for their pass-catching skills. And then, of course, you have Tampa Bay's run defense, which has been elite this year. They rank second in DVOA to opposing offenses or opposing running offenses. So the way to beat this team is through the pass. So I'm not super high on the Arizona side of the running game side of this. What about you?
Yeah, same. I mean, I think DJ might be a trap play because $19 looks like an appealing price tag, but it's just too hard to really see or to know what's going to happen. I think the most likely case is that maybe a 60-40 split, but we'll have to keep close track of the beat writers and what they're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. There might be some late-breaking information. We never know, especially after what happened earlier on this season. David Johnson, I don't know if we can trust anything coming out of Arizona. On the plus side, if you do want to go that route, and take the cheaper price point on David Johnson, you are getting a pretty big ownership discount there. We have him for 5% right now, which is not that much. What are you doing with the Arizona side of the passing game? We got Christian Kirk coming in at high ownership at $16. We have Larry Fitzgerald, who hasn't really done much recently, $15. Are you going to these? Are you going to have some Kyler Murray stacks? Do you like any of these cheaper flyers on Arizona Cardinals wide receivers that haven't really come through? I noticed as well that they were running a lot of four wide receiver sets to start the season. That number has been dwindling of late, and they aren't running 4 wide receiver sets nearly as much.
Yeah, that's right. I think we've been seeing some more tight end action, so maybe Max Williams could be a better fantasy play than he has been this season, but that's really digging pretty deep. So I think that
Ellison, we don't need him.
That's right. I think Andy Isabella, it might be the kind of like too cute play of the week because he had that big touchdown last week, so maybe some people will take a shot on him, but he just doesn't see the field enough. But
I agree. I totally agree with you. Only 13 offensive snaps last week.
Yeah, I mean, so that one might be over-owned. I would probably lean towards Kirk as number 1. Then Fitzgerald, actually, I was surprised that last week he kind of saw uptick in the snaps. Hasn't really put together a huge game yet so far. His best has been 12. He had a big game week 1. My bad. All right, so maybe it's time that he has another one.
All right, I like it. Let's talk a little bit about these quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, we have B for points, A for value. Flip side of that, we have Jameis Winston, A for points, B for value. Both pretty good bargains on this slate, really. Kyler Murray, $28. Winston, $31. Again, the only real problem with rostering these stacks is that they're going to be very highly owned.
Yeah, I think that they're priced pretty well. Like we'll see a lot of weeks the top quarterbacks are $40, so getting a pretty big discount. The minimum is $20, so they're just right in between. And this is a spot where shootout potential is big, and I like going to either one.
Yeah. All right. Good to know. So stacking them up, it looks like we got Kirk and Fitzgerald. If you're stacking the Murray route, I don't think there's really anything viable unless you're just trying to get off some of the chalk. On the other side of things, we have some interesting options here because we got Chris Godwin at 20%. We've got Mike Evans is down at 17%. He's a little bit more expensive, $32. Those are the clear two favorite options to pair with Jameis Winston. But of course, we also have the Arizona Cardinals have been really bad against opposing tight ends this year. They have been the flow chart this year. They ranked 32nd in DVOA, and it's really not even close between them and the 31st ranked Dallas Cowboys. They have been just abysmal at defending this position this year. O.J. Howard looks set for a return. Is this the O.J. Howard return revenge game? Are we actually going to see him produce? Are my fantasy lineups that I've been clinging to him with alive, or is this just a pipe dream and O.J. Howard's done?
I mean, I don't really have a strong feeling this week that O.J. Howard is kind of a go-to play. Like, I mean, if we just look at the numbers here, he's averaged 4 fantasy points a game, and he's not even the minimum price.
Yeah. Damn. I really want O.J. Howard to break through here. So let's say you're approaching this and you know that the Tampa Bay is going to be chalky and Arizona is going to be chalky, and you want to get some exposure to this game in GPPs. How will you approach it? Will you go like Winston double stacks with Godwin and Evans and then bring it back with some contrarian? Like, what's your take on how to approach these stacking?
Yeah, one guy we haven't mentioned that I think could be a big part of a game stack is Ronald Jones. He has kind of seized the lead back role from Peyton Barber as we've gone through the season. He's only 15, and in a pretty big game, if I'm stacking up Kyler Murray as well as Fitz and Kirk, I think maybe Ronald Jones could be a good option, as well as the obvious ones, Evan and Godwin. Are you thinking about Jones this week?
Yeah, I think I am. It's tough because they don't really use him much as a pass catcher. So the fact and Derek Ogunbowale has been kind of used in that third down role. So I don't know how well he fits in stacks. You're probably getting some negative correlation if you're stacking him up. But as a one-off, I'm totally okay with it. Especially like if this game script goes according to plan and Tampa Bay ends up running the ball. You also gain leverage, of course. If Ronald Jones goes off, you're going to gain leverage on the field, depending on if he ends up scoring 2 touchdowns or something. That probably takes a lot of these other stacks out of it. So definitely don't mind that, or bringing back Kyler Murray with a Ronald Jones stack for sure.
Nice. Nolan, I gotta bring in some breaking news here. Ricky Seals-Jones out for Week 10.
Wow. For the Browns.
Yes. I just thought that might be relevant as we build our GPP lineup here.
All right. It's good to know. Is David Njoku back?
That's a good question, yeah. I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
All right. I got one final question for you, because I feel like you were high on this guy a little bit to start the season, and it kind of hasn't really worked out, but he did show some signs of life, and he is getting some snaps and running some routes. Brashad Perriman, any love?
Yeah, I saw he had a big game at some point. This is the spot where I gotta go refer to PFF a little bit. So, this is where we have their media kind of access here. I'll give you guys a little.
8 targets last game, 4 receptions, 42 yards. 1 receiving TD. It was his biggest and best game as Tampa Bay Bucks, so there might be a little bit of recency bias there, but
yeah. So he was on the field for 40 of 51 plays. That's pretty encouraging because he had been phased out of the offense. At one point, they were thinking about cutting him even. So, I think that his stats overall aren't that great usually, but let's take a look at what he. So on the year, he's caught 29% of his passes for 8.3 yards per catch. So,
not so great.
Yeah, it looks like maybe look somewhere else. I don't know. What do you make of all this?
All right. Well, I think he's worth a flyer, and I don't know how you approach lineup construction. Maybe we can go into that a little bit later. But at a low owned price and a high total gain, if let's say you're stacking up another game and you add Brashad Perriman, it's kind of like double. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but if you score, that's also actively taking away points from people who may be overly stacking this game with the chalk, right?
That's true. I mean, if any touchdown that Perriman gets is one that Godwin or Evans won, so it could be a contrarian play there.
Awesome. I like it. All right, let's move it on to the next game. We got 4 games left. We have a really interesting one here, I think. Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. Let me pull up the line here because I accidentally closed
They actually have it on Yahoo here. 51 over-under minus 13.5 for New Orleans.
That's right. Yeah, see, they're so sharp and with it. So we have big news here is that Alvin Kamara is coming back. Of course, the chalky of chalkiness is going to be Michael Thomas, though he is priced up on Yahoo to a point where that will probably lower his ownership, unlike other DFS sites. So you probably don't need to worry about Michael Thomas's ownership this week. General thoughts on this one, Alex?
Yeah, I think this New Orleans team is one of the priciest of the week. I mean, Michael Thomas is almost a max. He's not typically someone I would associate with being a max player because he doesn't get a ton of touchdowns usually, but the game script here also, with them being 13-point favorites, not the most ideal for Thomas, but Matt Ryan being back, that's kind of a cool spot you could go to maybe, and Julio is a little bit cheaper. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of like that. It's tough because you do get the ownership discount. He's only 15%, but you're right, they're huge favorites. But for $7 less on Yahoo and at less ownership, you get Julio Jones. So if you're thinking about game scripts here and you're thinking about Atlanta probably having to pass the ball a lot, assuming that they're down, some Kamara game stacks with him and then bringing it back with the Atlanta Falcons offense might not be a bad play and actually may end up contrarian, especially because Matt Ryan hasn't really developed any buzz this week. If he is he officially good to go?
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, a little bit of a tougher matchup versus New Orleans, but their defense has been like pretty average this year. It's been mostly offense kind of doing it. But you're mentioning Kamara. I see he's only $30, so that's kind of a bargain. What do you think?
Oh yeah, huge. I think that's a great bargain. It was funny. I'm actually writing up my From the Slot article, which comes out usually around this time every week, and I was digging into the Falcons because for the past 3 years they've been the flow chart for opposing receptions allowed to running backs. Right? You just played if there was a pass catching back, and they were playing the Falcons. If it was Christian McCaffrey or whoever, you just played them because the scheme of the Atlanta Falcons defense was to allow short yardage and to play over the top zone to just prevent big gains. And now that script is flipped, and I don't quite know why. I've been trying to figure it out. But they rank, after ranking last in receptions allowed to running backs for 3 straight years, they now rank second only to the San Francisco 49ers in receptions allowed to running backs. Just a complete flip. And looking at some of the things they said in the offseason, they were thinking about switching to a 3-4. Dan Quinn was really unhappy with his defense, and they were thinking about some schematic changes. So it may just be that they've totally altered their scheme, and that opposing running backs aren't going to be catching the ball as much to the Falcons. So if you do have that notion in your head, like I do sometimes, you might want to dissuade yourself of that. Though by week 10, we probably should have reacted a little bit sooner, or at least I should have. I don't know if that narrative is developed in fantasy footballs, but it is interesting. Let me ask you this, though. One thing I do worry about with this matchup is that Alvin Kamara is coming back from an injury. He is a full participant in practice, but are you worried that that the Saints get up big here and that they're just like, look, we don't really lose much with Latavius Murray. Let's opt for more of a timeshare.
For sure, yeah. I mean, he's not a guy that gets like a huge workload already. So anticipating Murray to get more touches than he had been getting earlier in the season because he was outstanding. But Kamara is the far better pass catcher of the two. So it makes sense that if you want to pick Kamara, maybe like you go with an Atlanta player or two.
All right. I like it. Yeah, he is not one of these bell cow backs that, we've seen. He's not on the level of the Leonard Fournettes or the Christian McCaffreys. Kamara's usually in that 60 to 70% snap range, so you are probably going to need those receptions. But at that price, I do like that bargain there. Will you be stacking up some Atlanta Falcons here and then at low ownership and then bringing them back with Kamara? Is that the most logical way to build this game?
I think so, yeah. With Sanu traded, I think that boosts all these other guys a little bit, like Ridley and Hooper. And then, let's see. If it looks like their wide receiver 3 is pretty hard to pin down between Russell Gage and Justin Hardy. So probably just stick with those 3 guys. Yeah,
absolutely. Comfortably priced up a little bit, not getting a great value in your ranking. A C for points and E for value. Austin Hooper priced up as well, probably one of the more expensive tight ends in the slate here. B for points and an E for value. So neither of these guys are great values, but they will come with reduced ownerships and be used as part of a game stack and as part of a more concentrated game stack now that Sanu is out. All right, any final thoughts on this one, or should we move it on?
I think that it's just a little bit overpriced, which is kind of a path to be contrarian spot if they're low owned.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me because the game total here is not that much off the Tampa Bay Arizona game, and if they're going to be much higher, you just have to find your bargains elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
All right, game number 3, we have the Kansas City Chiefs at the Tennessee Titans. Patrick Mahomes possibly coming back in this one. That could mean some reduced pricing and reduced ownership if the news breaks late for some of these Kansas City pass catchers. What are you doing with this one?
Well, yeah, I think Mahomes is interesting. 39, that's definitely not discount for like his injury, but as you're saying, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, these guys have been struggling a lot with Matt Moore, so they're priced a little bit lower, and I could see taking some shots there.
Oof, $39. They are not being kind to DFSers there. I was hoping for a little bit of a discount.
Yeah, but their team total is 26. I mean, that's not like the highest we see by any means, but it's pretty good.
All right, so Pat Mahomes, B for points, D for value. We got Tyreek Hill here, though, $32, and Travis Kelce, $24. Are you then more likely to one-off them or with Pat Mahomes being pricier, or are you just using that price as a leverage point to get some value or to get some ownership leverage?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to stack up more than one of these guys, I think. Especially, we don't have a tremendous amount of value yet, aside from Kalen Balaj. I hope he's maybe the min price, but that's about all I'm seeing so far.
Yikes, that's pretty ugly.
I mean, this is his week, man. Let's go.
I hope so, man. I've got far too much Kalen Balaj on my already dead best ball team. So.
Oh man, me too.
All right, let's move it over to the Kansas City running side of this game. You've liked Shady McCoy of late. Are you still on the Shady McCoy bandwagon? Are you jumping off here? What's your take on this KC running game?
Yeah, what we saw last week is Damien Williams got more snaps in both passing and running. So it's hard to love McCoy at this point. There's certainly a possibility that the pendulum swings the other way, but from what I was understanding, like McCoy had a crucial fumble, and then they've been kind of leaning on Damien Williams a little bit more. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna look up the snap counts here. Take a look, but it looked like it was trending more towards a split last week. So I'm guessing Jackson should be 10. All right, let's go there. So I'm guessing that your take is probably not that far off. And I don't really. Well, Damien Williams looks like he took 72% of the snaps last week.
McCoy only was on the field for 6 snaps, so that's surprising. I mean, Darrell Williams got more action than McCoy.
Wow, maybe we're seeing a switch too. Could be. If that's the case, Damien Williams 12 rushes, 125 yards in that last game for the Chiefs. So he's pretty cheap at $18 and probably going to fly a little bit under the radar as people might not be quick to react to that or might be worried of more of a timeshare. That might not be a bad place to go in this game if you're looking for a cheaper contrarian option. How are you bringing this back if you're stacking up the Chiefs? Because I'm guessing, looking at early ownership, the most common way to do that is going to be to bring it back with Derrick Henry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's really the only guy of any fantasy value on the Titans. However, I mean, Corey Davis is 13. He hasn't really put up anything this year, but that could be someone I don't think would be crazy.
No Ryan Tannehill, Davis stacks for you?
I mean, Kansas City isn't a defensive powerhouse. They give up about average passing this year, so I don't hate it. But let's see. I guess AJ Brown may be the best of the bunch. He's had great efficiency this year so far, and he saw the field a little bit more. He's only $13 as well, so maybe the stack's not too bad.
Yeah, I'm not hating it, especially if this one, if Mahomes is back, this one definitely has some shootout potential. You could go with Tannehill as the cheap quarterback, bring it back with a couple of Chiefs stacks like Kelsey and Tyreek, and then, you got a full game stack here. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's not too crazy.
That's what I want to hear. That's the best I can hope for. It's not. All right, we got 2 games left here before we start building some lineups. We get the Sunday nighter, actually. Minnesota Vikings at the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are favored by 3 points. The over-under is 48. What's your takeaway from this game?
The Sunday night game. Well, I think that Diggs has really been kind of producing big with Thielen out, and Thielen's out again. So $25 seems like a reasonable price there.
Very reasonable.
Yeah. Zeke for 30. I mean, you gotta like that. Why do you think he's $30? That seems a little low.
I don't know. It's kind of surprising how little he's done so far this year, and he just didn't really deliver too much in that. Oh, I guess he did he amass 140 yards last week against the Giants? I just noticed he was dudding in my lineups and didn't really realize he did that well. So he hasn't really had that big game. Didn't have a target, didn't have a reception last week out against the Giants. Perhaps that's why his fantasy point total was so low, but still 23 rushing attempts and 140 yards. So I feel like maybe he might fly under the radar here because of the perception that Minnesota's run defense is so good. But at that price point, why not?
Yeah, I mean, It's definitely not a good matchup, but that seems like a good price. So it seems like a spot maybe we can invest in.
Yeah, he's a home favorite. Minnesota 15th in the NFL in DVOA at defending running backs this year. So definitely going to be a featured part of my lineups, and especially because we don't ever get to play the Sunday nighter on any other sites other than Yahoo. Zeke had an 80% snap count. Pollard had a 21% snap count last time out against the Giants. So pretty good.
Just to rewind a second, I would be remiss not to mention Jonnu Smith because it looks like Delaney Walker is out this week again.
Great point.
Have you been thinking about Jonnu Smith at all?
I have like this Jonnu Smith bias where like back when he was the guy when Delaney Walker was out last year, he dudded so often that I just stopped even like paying attention. But that's probably unwise of me. Like he looks like he's got a stranglehold on this Titans tight end role. Hey, and it's 64, 78 yards, 3, 7, and 5 targets. You could do worse for a $12 tight end.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that would be the run back because you're going to need that salary.
I like it. I'm just going to Google. I'm just going to search his routes run and snap counts here. Looking pretty good. 73% snap count, 42 routes run. So not bad here. Not bad. I like that call. Glad you circled back.
One thing about this game, the Minnesota-Dallas game, is like the Sunday night game, not on DraftKings and FanDuel, of course. Do you think that affects like the ownership in some way?
I think so, yeah. I haven't really – so we're looking at it and it looks like we have Zeke projected for 28% ownership, $30. I think part of it's the bargain. Part of it is just the fact that people don't get to play him on other sites. So anytime you have a good Sunday night game, people are going to want some exposure to that. If they happen to be playing other sites or if they're just if they just want to watch that game, right? So I do think that it has an effect. Have you noticed anything in your rankings over the years? Do these like Sunday night games get a little bit more ownership than they possibly could?
To be honest, man, I haven't really like done the research, so it's something maybe like to kind of keep an eye on because that could be an edge.
Yeah, absolutely. But what we are seeing as well is like low ownership or lowish ownership on Stephon Diggs, I think, relative to that price point. So at $25, I'm definitely digging that side of things.
Yeah, if Zeke has a good game, you got to think Diggs will get some targets. So
absolutely, yeah. And like he's been a target monster of late. Did not develop for whatever reason in Kansas City last week, but that was the aberration, not the rule. And Thielen has been ruled out for this week. So pretty good spot there. What about these other Minnesota wide receivers? Are there any bargains to be had? Is Olabasi Johnson still playable? $11. Hasn't really done much. What about Laquan Treadwell at $10? Are you going to any of these guys? Looks like he's carved out a little bit of a role for himself. Not really very exciting options, but also cheap bargain options too.
Yeah, I think there are kind of options, but definitely not my preferred options. Also, Irv Smith with Thielen out has been getting more of the snaps. So between those three guys, none of them really stand out to me. But is there any particular guy you're leaning towards?
No, I'm not super excited about him. I feel like I'm sure that one of them could have a solid game here, but like good luck picking out which one. And then it's also not a great matchup. And I don't know. I feel like I'd rather take other steps elsewhere, but I don't have any problem with rostering them. Are you in on any of these Dallas wide receivers? Amari Cooper, $29. He has a bruised knee, but is expected to play. If he can't go, is Michael Gallup just a lock at $21? Or how are you approaching this Dallas passing league?
Man, that is appealing price for Michael Gallup. He's had a terrific year so far. And you got to think with Amari Cooper out, that's 80 yards that has to be distributed to other players. Michael Gallup would get a significant bump because they really don't have a guy that can get a high volume of targets other than him. So, this seems like a great price tag if Cooper's out.
It's looking like he'll play, but if he can't go, you might have to readjust your lineups there. The worst case scenario is you roster Amari Cooper and you got to go back down to Michael Gallup and maybe you lose $8. But what are you going to do in that situation? It's kind of tough. All right. Any final thoughts on this one or moving on to our final game?
I'll mention that Dak Prescott has been having just an insane year so far. And by insane, I mean like better than you should expect going forward. So I think this one might be overowned.
All right, I like that take. I'm rolling with you there. Carolina Panthers at the Green Bay Packers. We have a 47 total in this one. Green Bay favored by 5 points. General thoughts on this one, Alex?
Well, see, Christian McCaffrey has broken the 40-point salary barrier. I haven't seen that all year. But this is not the best situation, I think, going up against Green Bay as underdog. But he's certainly maybe the spend-up option. Aaron Jones for 31 seems pretty darn expensive to me. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a little bit pricey. Jamal Williams still getting worked in there, so I'm definitely going to be going elsewhere. But that's not to say that it can't be a great play. I think he's still getting some ownership though. We're seeing it about 10%, so that's probably enough to keep me off him this week.
Yeah, same. I think Devontae Adams though, like $28. That seems like a pretty decent price. He played most of the game last week.
I like that call a lot, actually. $28. I mean, this is the kind of receiver that would be priced up in the $35 range if he wasn't coming off an injury, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he played most of the last game, so a whole other week he should be 100%.
I mean, I think that's a great call, and like featuring him heavily in your lineups this week is probably a pretty smart move because you're catching people. People still think maybe he's injured or maybe he's not playing, but he had an 83% snap count. He ran the most routes on the team. His salary is only $28, and though he's got a pretty tough, probably a tough shadow matchup against Bradbury, volume and price always trump matchup. So. I hope you agree with that.
Yeah, I mean that's a great catchphrase, man. I'll have to use that.
Sure. It's all yours. All right. So, are you looking towards any stacks on this one? Any Aaron Rodgers? Any cheap Kyle Allen?
Kyle Allen is someone who's on my radar this week because I think that Carolina is going to have to pass a good amount to stay in this game. Green Bay has given up more yards than average this year, and I think that DJ Moore, sneaky good season, as well as Curtis Samuel. So, like, am I being overly optimistic here, or are these guys kind of plays?
No, man, this is a cheap stack for sure. Like, I like it a lot. Like DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, you're getting a lot of the passing offense there, right? And then Kyle Allen is also cheap. So, not a great matchup, but they may have to pass it to stay in it. The only question is, like, are you bringing this back with an Aaron Jones? You're bringing back with a Devontae Adams. I mean, I guess both as viable options, but I do like the discounts on those two.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Man, I'm actually surprised at this pricing. Like 10, 9, 10, 8 targets for DJ Moore over the past 4 weeks. Curtis Samuel, $1 cheaper, a less of a bargain. 7, 7, 6, 6, 11, 6 targets over the past little bit. Like, it's not bad.
Here's why DJ Moore is so cheap: is he has 560 yards and 1 touchdown this year. So it's like the league average would be like a touchdown every 150 yards. So he's getting unlucky this year. Right.
And yeah, absolutely. Like I'll have to dig a little bit deeper and see what the old ADOT is and their air yards are looking like over on Next Gen Stats, because that could also be telling. But I think I like that call there, and you're going to get some ownership discount as well. All right, it's almost time to start building lineups. You got any thoughts on this? Final thoughts on this one? Aaron Rodgers. You want to get into some of these other Green Bay wide receivers? Valdez Scantling, Alan Lazard, who now has like his own clothing line.
What? Where do I buy it? Oh no, I mean I think it's going to be hard to pin down the right guy because they're all like rotating snaps.
Yeah, fair. I'm right there with you. I couldn't figure out how to stack this Green Bay team when Adams was out, and now that he's back, it's just going to be Adams. So he is questionable. He was limited in last Thursday's practice, so do watch out for that a little bit. But I'm guessing he's trending towards being back to 100%. So, all right, that is going to do it for the game breakdown section of the show. Alex, tell us about what we've got going on over at Awesemo.com.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of different tools that can help you out. I mean, the 3 cornerstones of my strategy are projections. You get access to my projections with our membership, or if you want to get to the Express, get the rankings, which are equivalent. And the ownership, of course, you got to know how much risk reward there is for each player on your team. And then finally, the correlation, which is when you put all the players together, like in your game stack, what's the chance of that actually working out? And to measure that, I run a lot of simulations, and that's how I come up with my top stacks tool for NFL, telling you the probability that each stack will be the highest scoring of the week. And I think that if you put all the tools on our site together, as well as all the analysis that we're putting out on a daily basis, we got a lot of great guys doing YouTube and written content. This is your winning strategy when you get all these tools together.
I like it. Yeah, it's all the tools at once. You can use. Come on over to the site and check out some of our free stuff. We got loads of promo codes over there as well. Also, feel free to like this video. We really appreciate it if you are able to do that for us. Helps us in our YouTube, helps us keep these shows free as well. And shout out again to our sponsor, Yahoo. If you want to sign up there, $30 in YSRP points. Use promo code AWESOMO. All right, should we build some lineups?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cash, then GPP.
Okay, cash, then GPP. Let's do it.
All right. I'm curious as to where we're going here.
I got a note from Pablo in the chat. He says Devonta Freeman is only $13. What do you think about that?
Oh, thanks for the heads up there. Devonta Freeman, $13.
I mean, like, you were saying that New Orleans gives up the running back receptions, right? That seems like a pretty nice bet.
8 receptions last week, 63. Half-point PPR here on Yahoo, so keep that in mind. But, like, man, is that a bargain.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaged 11 fantasy points per game. He's 13. I mean, that seems like a cash play right there.
That's definitively a cash play. We got to split this prize with Brendan Chat.
Oh, I got to jump in a cash contest here. So let's check out the cash offerings of Yahoo real quick.
Devonta Freeman, 64 offensive snaps, 80%. He is not sharing time with anyone. I cannot believe that price point. I'm amazed we missed it earlier.
All right, so we got this. There's a lot of options here. There's a lot of 100-man 50-50s, single entries, so you're not competing with too many lineups from any one person. I think that these look pretty nice. So maybe I'll enter this $5 100-person 50-50.
All right, I like it.
Have you been playing any of the cash games over here?
I'm strictly GPP, but maybe it's on the list. You know, getting into cash a little bit more.
I think on sites like Yahoo, like I love the head-to-heads because you can just block anyone you don't want to play, and that means you're playing everyone that you want to play.
What's your handle? I'm gonna block you right now.
It's Alex B 53217. No, I'm just kidding. It's awesome.
So how do you go about, like, do you just put up a lineup and just invite people to play? Is that what your style is, or do you go seek out other people?
In head-to-heads, the best strategy is to create the head-to-head yourself and wait for someone to join, in my opinion.
Right. Okay.
And then I don't feel too bad about picking on anyone.
I like it. Yeah, maybe I'll try it out this week, man.
Nice.
Sounds like fun. All right. So we got a contest. We got Devonta Freeman in.
So I think we mentioned before the show Le'Veon Bell at $23, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's just insane, isn't it?
I think so. And so we're probably going to see this line move a little bit. Ingram was ruled out today. Sterling Shepard ruled out today. The Jets are at home, and they are favored. Le'Veon Bell does have a knee injury, and he was limited in practice, so we'll have to monitor that situation as we go. But, like, in terms of bell cow backs, pardon the terrible pun there, Bell ranks right up there with McCaffrey in terms of snap count. So, yeah, I'm A-okay with putting him in cash and just monitoring that situation as it goes.
All right. One other play, maybe. I'm looking at this game log from Pittsburgh because James Conner is now doubtful.
Yep.
Looks like Jalen Samuels, he only got 8 rushing attempts, but he got 75% of the routes. So
400 targets, I think, last week.
Yeah, so he had a big game, but the workload wasn't quite there. So is he a cash play? What is his price?
So he is $20. I would say no.
Okay, yeah, I think that might be
It's a little bit much for a guy who only got 8 rushing attempts, and it just seemed like they were spelling in, I think, Trey Edmonds. Is that right? Yeah, Trey Edmonds.
Right,
12 attempts, 73 yards. So it looks like they're using him as more of a receiving back in pass catching situations rather than a standard running back. I mean, if he was $5 cheaper, maybe.
Every one of us that had Jalen Samuels last night, we dodged a major bullet because that was a fail spot.
I know, right? Like, I was sitting there watching him rack up these catches, and it's like, man, he's not doing anything. But like, you know, if you have PPR, then you're fine, right? He met his value, but just kind of crazy.
All right, so let's do our lineup here. I think Devontae Adams at 28, is he a cash play for you?
I don't know. That's a good question. Like, do you think it's a little bit risky coming back from the turf toe? Like, is there some downside there whereby like you know what I mean? Like the range of outcomes is maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit more than we want, or no?
I mean, you got 11 targets last week, so that's pretty encouraging. Maybe it's just a situation where Godwin and Evans are a little bit safer and they're not that expensive. And Cooper Kupp with Brandon Cooks out, that's also pretty appealing.
As well, yes, that's true. So, good question here. But yeah, I think let's fire him in one, and then we can keep him out of the other one.
All right, cool.
Do we do two? Am I losing it? Do we do 2 GPPs or 2 cash?
2 GPPs.
Okay, sorry, I misspoke earlier. 2 GPPs, 1 cash. So this is our 1 cash lineup.
All right. QB, we got Kyler Murray 28. That seems like a cash play.
Yep.
And Dak at 35 maybe. Is there anyone you're looking at?
Let me just pull up your rankings here and see. I feel like more often than not, there's just one really, really obvious play there, but
yeah.
Okay. So we got Kyler Murray is probably. It's either Kyler Murray, Drew Brees, Jameis Winston, Lamar Jackson. I think one of those 4, right?
Oh yeah, Lamar Jackson. He's 40 though.
Ooh. Yeah, that's pricey. Yeah, especially in matchup where like though he did like torch the Bengals earlier for 120 yards. He also didn't pass it that much, and you know, this one could get out of hand. So
yeah,
I like Kyler. That'd be my vote.
All right, Kyler, let's do it. So tight end, let's fill that in here. Johnny Smith is someone we mentioned. Maybe Travis Kelce with Mahomes back. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like that call too. Yeah, $24.
Okay, awesome.
Defense?
Yeah, let's do it. So let's start from the bottom here. Indianapolis versus Miami, $14.
That's a lock.
Yeah, it's hard to get away from.
Sign me up. $23 remaining.
Nice. That's some money to work with here.
Yeah. All right, scrolling down. Wide receivers. I mean, one of these Carolina, like DJ Moore or Curtis Samuel, is probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Your boy Darius Slayton.
I think DJ Moore is a pretty good cash play. Yeah.
DJ.
Yeah. So let's put him in.
All right, I like it.
Fitzgerald for 14 though. That's pretty nice.
It's not bad.
Let's see if anyone.
Well, I think like, for running, look, I'm guessing we're going with the running back in the flex here. Is that logical?
Hold on. Pablo said we missed something here. The Ravens defense is 13, and they're going up against the guy in Cincinnati that's starting his first game.
Good God. I think we have Pablo on this show to go with us next time.
I think, he's got some good plays here.
Right, yeah. Baltimore, that's an even better play, I think, than the Colts.
Yeah.
So we got a couple choices here, $27 left. One option is we could get rid of Le'Veon Bell and put in a cheap wide receiver and put in Kamara and Zeke Elliott. And although then we'd have to, I don't know if that works. Or we could just have one of Zeke Elliott and Kamara. I'm guessing those are probably our 2 top options at that price point, and then just opt for a receiver in the $24 range.
Yeah, let's slot Zeke in there, and we can get Diggs at 25, right? If we swapped on the Ravens, that's what I did.
Perfect.
All right.
But, any thoughts on Juju this week?
Yeah, I saw him up there like at 22. That was pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I'm willing to take the L at this point in the season on him, but yeah, Buffalo tougher matchup. Or wait, no, sorry, the Rams. Also, not the easiest matchup, but um,
Yeah.
yeah. Ever since Mason Rudolph came into the Pittsburgh team as a starter, like
It's
that.
not looking so good, eh?
Yeah. All right.
All right, we
Well.
got our cash lineup ready to roll.
Yeah, let's see some YSRP on this one. It's a free $5.
I like it. All right. We got 10 minutes left, 5 minutes per cash team.
Yeah, this should be interesting. So I think like maybe we go with one contrarian stack and one
Perfect.
chalk stack.
Perfect. All right. Should we do let's do the chalk stack first.
All right, let's do it. So,
Okay.
I think the chalk stacks, Jameis Winston and Kyler Murray.
Yep.
And I think Lamar Jackson may be chalky, but what is our ownership projection saying?
So Lamar Jackson 20%, Jameis 19, Kyler 16.
Oh, nice. So
So I don't know. Like I actually think like Lamar Jackson at that price and that ownership might not be like he's also difficult to stack with too, right?
yeah, I mean, and if they're up, that's not a great formula for quarterback running. So
Yeah.
if you really love Tyler Boyd or Auden Tate with Ryan Finley, then maybe Lamar Jackson's your guy.
I like it. Yeah. So what of these? Like we're going maybe. What do you think? Tampa double stack or?
Yeah, that's it. Tampa, Winston, Evans, Godwin. I mean, is that too crazy?
Nah.
All right. And
We're gonna find some pivots elsewhere. Do you worry though that like Evans and Godwin just never seem to go off in the same game? Is that just narrative?
yeah, it hasn't happened yet, man. Last week was so close, but maybe if they, I'm still traumatized by that overtime where I lost the tournament because the guy missed the kick.
What tournament?
It was like one of the bigger ones, but not
Oh.
$1 million or anything. Anyway, all right, I'm over it. I'm willing to move on and give it another shot here.
The good news is that even though like they don't have two big games together, they do often have like one of them will have a good game and not a group, and one will have a big game. So
Yeah.
I think like there's some safety in pairing them together, and there's still some upside.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to hit a huge home run in the baller because
Yeah.
it's 27,000 people. Like that means maybe you don't have to have like the perfect lineup.
That's a
every
good point
time.
too. Yeah, absolutely. Are we bringing this back with Kirk Fitzgerald?
Yeah. Which one of those guys do you like more?
I feel like maybe this is also perception. I feel like Kirk has a higher upside and Fitzgerald has a safer floor.
All right,
But
let's put in
I don't know.
Kirk.
If that's, all right.
All right.
Yeah.
And
Some Vernon Hargraves this week too. Who hasn't been great. All right, Kirk. Player cannot be added. Okay. So we got $18 left. Are we popping in this? Popping in the Baltimore D again, or?
yeah. Let's do the Indianapolis D this time if everyone's going to Baltimore.
I like it.
All right.
And then Freeman again.
Yeah, I like it. I think we need some salary savings here, so that makes sense.
There we go. So now we're going to need to be a little bit contrarian here with the rest of our lineup, given that. So let's just take a look at some cheaper, some lesser owned running back options here.
I mean, Todd Gurley surely is contrarian, $24. How about Devin Singletary? I mean, maybe he's a guy that people don't know yet. That
He's only 2% owned. I like that call. He was one of the first guy I noticed on this slate. It's like he's getting this shit. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Frank Gore has been phased out, but actually now that I'm looking at it,
Expensive.
yeah, it's not really adding up to be a great play for my projections here.
What about 3% owned Damien Williams?
Wow, only 3% owned. Sign me up.
All right, I like it. Or do we want to go like in this scenario? Do you want to go cheap so you can get like one more star in, or not worry about it?
I think we need just someone a little bit sneaky because our lineup's pretty chalky at this point.
Perfect. Let's go with Damien Williams then. $23 left per. Tight ends, popping in some ownership. Kelsey is the chalk, so if you want to get off of him, like you're basically like if you go with someone like Hooper or Andrews or those are the only two plays really in that upper echelon that you're gonna get some ownership leverage there. But plus we already have Williams, so
yeah. I'm trying to find someone that I like on down here, but it's hard.
What about Jonnu Smith or one of these? Or even like, is it terrible to say Ray Allison?
I think he's all right.
90% snap count. He's just more of a like, I don't know, blocking.
What about John? What is Jonnu Smith's ownership?
Let's take a look.
It might not be updated for Delaney Walker being out though.
Jonas Smith, 0.1%. So yeah, he'll probably end up in like probably around the 4 to 5% range, I'm guessing.
All right, that's not bad. If we're assuming that, I think we can get him in there.
All right, let's do it.
And then the guy that fits perfectly, Dalvin Cook. What kind of ownership is he getting this week?
I think 19%.
Okay, so not super contrarian, but.
Do you like him in that matchup? You're not worried about like negative game script or anything?
That's the thing. I don't really like him. He just fits the lineup.
Yeah. What if we were to pop in one of like Zeke or Kamara here? Maybe Zeke.
All right.
And then we'll spend up a little bit of tight end.
All right. Let's see who we can get. Jimmy Graham.
Gross.
Oh gosh. All right. What about if we swap out Devonta Freeman maybe?
Swap out Devonta Freeman.
And then we can get Ronald Jones. I don't know. Well, that doesn't work with our lineup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kenyon Drake, Tariq Cohen, Ronald Jones. Yeah, it's not pretty. This is a tough one.
Yeah. I'm at a little bit of a loss, man. What to change about this? Maybe.
What if we change our D and spend up a little bit?
Yeah. What about let's see. We can get Buffalo facing Baker.
Ooh.
I kind of think that could be sneaky.
All right, at Cleveland, we can get any defense we want, so that's not bad. Sure, let's do it, Buffalo.
All right, I'm pretty sure they'll be pretty low owned, because that seems like it's overpriced.
Awesome. All right, I'm hitting the mid button.
Let's do it.
Okay, we got one more contrarian stack. We got 4 minutes left. I'm gonna pull up some QB ownership here.
I think our consensus was maybe going down to the the Carolina stack, right?
I like it. All right,
cool. So DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's not bad.
All right. And maybe running back with Devontae Adams.
Man, we got a bargain stack here.
Yeah, this is looking pretty nice. I like it. All right.
Filling this out on my own end here.
All right, cool. For running back, so our favorites are Devonta Freeman. Let's see.
$23 left, assuming defense, so probably around the $25 range. So, who do we like? Oh, I mean, I'm happy to pop in Freeman again at that price point, honestly.
Yeah, let's pop in Freeman and see what that shakes out to be, because we can go chalky at all these picks.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Elliott. Pop into defense.
Ravens.
Sure. All right, we can get our best tight end.
We can get anyone we want. Saquon.
Oh, yeah.
You want to pop in Kelsey?
Yeah, if we get Kelsey, Saquon.
Kelsey and Saquon.
All right, I like it.
Damn,
that was super easy.
It's like the greatest GPP lineup ever, built in like 30 seconds.
I know, man. That just felt like a glove. That was crazy.
It's beautiful. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. We will be back, of course, next week to break down the week 12, week 11. It's all coming together for me.
Well, we can break down any week that you want to.
Yeah, we'll just pick a random week and
Yeah.
we have so much content coming up as well. If you are an NBA DFS player, go check out the contests on Yahoo. They are great. We have your projections for them, as well as you can always optimize and throw in a couple lineups on Fantasy Cruncher. And we have Live Before Lock and help me out, NBA Deeper Dive coming up shortly on the Osmo YouTube channel. The Osmo Betting Show is up there. Tons of free content, as well as Adam Pfeiffer's matchups column is out right now. He goes through and breaks down every single game on the slate. It is a bookie myth, 13,000 words this week. It's a must read every single week. I can't believe we have that on the site. It's so good. That is going to do it for us. We will see you back here next week. Thanks everyone for watching. Please feel free to hit that like button on the way out. It helps us out a lot.